So I started playing Balinese Gamelan on the Gamelan Anklung, and I really enjoyed that. But then I was kind of enjoying anything I did at that point. I really, really did. And about that time, I think Brad had just come back. No, when I joined, that's Bradley Smith, was about to go off to Java, and he did, and he went away for 2 years, and then he came back and he brought back a gamelan, what should we call it? What are those bamboo things called?
From Java?
From Java. From Java.
Is it Angklung?
No, it's not an Anklung. It's what's it? Yeah, it's it'll come to me anyway. So he had that, and he had it. No, but it's no, because they're Balinese, aren't they? Yeah. But anyway, he'd got this gamelan back from which he'd gone to learn, and he came back with this, and so of course he set up a group which met in the basement of Anna Banks' house, which was in Arsenal, just by Arsenal Tube, Highbury. Now Anna Banks I've known because she was in Cambridge. She used to live in Cambridge, and she used to really support the gamelan, really support the gamelan group. She didn't play herself, but she'd lived out in Bali for many years, and then she moved to London. She moved to this, and she bought an art gallery. Well, she bought a shop with a 3-story or 4-story house and a basement, which used to be the SWAPO headquarters, I think. And so I just remember going there and helping her clear their house and helping her convert it into an art gallery. And then in the basement we put Brad's gamelan, and every Monday we used to meet there and play gamelan. So that was another group I joined. So taking up the Balinese thing, I played Gamelan Anklung for quite a while. I still play it, and then I remember when would it have been? When we went to Barcelona, was that 1997 or 96? I remember the great thing about Gamelan Anklung was that we used to get lots and lots of performances, and lots of very, very strange performances in really strange places. And
Why?
Why? Because people used to contact Andy, and they'd want us to play in festivals or great outdoor things. So we played a lot in the summer, and I got to see a lot of London that way. It filled up a lot of my weekends. It was a thoroughly enjoyable thing to do. It still is. We still do a lot of performing, and it's thoroughly enjoyable. And I remember him coming in one day and saying, I've been asked to go out to Barcelona because they'd like us to perform in Barcelona, and I don't know what kind of gamelan it is. And then and we all said, haha, yes, that's great. And he went away, and he came back and he said, right, the good news is they really do want us to perform. The bad news is it's not a Gamelan Anklung, it's something called a Gong Kebyar, which is bigger. And he says, I think we can do it. I think we can do it. I think we had a very, very short period of time to do it. He said, I think we can, all we have to do is rehearse on a different set of instruments than one we're used to rehearsing on. And I just remember sitting with Nye and a few other people and going, this will never work. This is some harebrained, mad scheme. And so what Andy did, and I think what Andy did is he basically used a Javanese gamelan and taught us the repertoire on the Javanese gamelan. And we had quite a limited repertoire because we had never played Gong Kebyar before, and it's quite a different set of pieces compared to Gamelan Anklung. And I just remember that for about 2 or 3 weeks I couldn't make any of the rehearsals, and I was deeply sceptical about this. And I remember walking into the Javanese gamelan room that was at SOAS, because at that stage we used to rehearse both Javanese and Balinese at SOAS, in the room and in the basement in the main building. And I remember walking in, and they were towards the end of Hujan Mass, and again, it was one of those completely defining moments where I just thought, this is amazing. And it was Hujan Mas played really badly, probably, if you listen to it now, on the Javanese Gamelan, part of an early rehearsal. And I just thought, this is just amazing music. I really want to play this. Andy's completely right. We can do it. And it's totally changed. And so we rehearsed it, and I got very excited by it. I just loved it. And then I think we went down to Dartington, where there was the only Balinese Gong Kebyar in England at the time. I think it's no, I don't know. I think it's Kebyar. Oh, do they have one in Dartington?
Oh, was it Kebyar there?
Yeah, Kebyar. Yes, it's a Kebyar. Yeah, Kebyar. Yeah, I think it's a Kebyar. Yeah. And yeah, because I'd not come across the Samaradana until we got the one at St Luke's. So went down, played it, which again was just so exciting. You've no idea how exciting it is to play. And I've got a recording of that somewhere, of that rehearsal. And what's really funny is just how hard we had to work when we were playing just to stay together. At the time I was playing complete, like I still do, and you can hear me going thwack, thwack, thwack to try and keep the group together, because at the time that's what we relied on. I mean, if you listen to us now, it's a totally different thing. We're listening to each other rather than to one focal point, and it took, and then we went out to Barcelona, and it was probably the most energizing, enjoyable performance I've ever done, and we've done masses of fantastic, very, very fantastic performances.
Group here went to Dartington to rehearse.
To rehearse, yes. So we had one go on, or maybe it's two goes on the instruments, because I remember us saying, "But Andy, we'll never have seen the instruments, and we'll turn up in Barcelona, and we have to sit down." But anyway, he'd timed it perfectly, and we were really, really good in Barcelona. And I was just so proud of what we were doing, and it was one of those performances that I was exhausted by the end of it, but it was completely exhilarating. And then we entered this rather strange period where we were just dying to play Gong Kebyar. We really wanted to play this set, but it was a very long way to go down to Dartington to play it, and so almost from the moment we came back from Dartington, we were saying, how do we actually buy a Gong Kebyar set? We would really, really like to buy one, and we kept talking. Every time in the pub we would sit down and we'd talk about how can you raise money. It's really hard to raise money. Who had the skills to put in an application to someone to get money for it? Who would actually fund it? Could we raise money as a group? So on, and we just kept talking on, round and round in circles about this, and probably for about 2 years. And about that time, I had saved up enough money to actually do something. I can't remember what it was, pay off a chunk of my mortgage or something like that. And I was about to do that, and I thought, actually. And I knew how much a Gong Kebyar would cost, and I thought, actually, the thing that would change my life more than anything else, is not to have a smaller mortgage, or is not to have a new kitchen or a new bath or any of those things. Actually, I want to play a Gong Kebyar, and so I am just going to buy one.
So touching.
Yeah. And then actually the decision was easy. I want a Gong Kebyar because I want to play that, and actually I'm really frustrated at not being able to play one. So I went to, so I basically said that's what we need to do, and I spoke to Pete Smith, who was really excited about that, and I spoke to Andy, and I think, and we basically set it all up. I never went out to Bali, which I regret now. That's my one regret. but somewhere I'll have all the emails of me emailing Pete and him saying, well, I've been to the makers and these are the different carvings you can possibly have on it, and it's up to you which carvings you want, and so on and so forth. And I basically conversed with him. And I remember going to taking time off work to go and wire the money across to Bali. I remember going to the cash point over several days to draw out the cash, because for some reason, I think the exchange rate was really volatile at that time. I had to keep going. They would only accept it in cash. So, so I would get these instructions from Pete, and I'd then have to go to the cash point and go on the tube with quite a lot of money and, and then take it to the only bank near Liverpool Street Station somewhere and hand over the money. And and to be honest, it was fantastic, because it made it this whole ceremony that I had to go through about 4 or 5 times to actually purchase this set. And then I remember it arriving at City University in, actually that would have been 97, so we must have gone to Barcelona in 95 or something. I can look up the dates. And I remember it, the first thing I learnt with it coming over was, well, I learned so much about how you ship large instruments across. The first thing is that actually you can't predict when a boat is going to arrive. I assumed it was like a train, and they'll tell you that it will arrive, at least on what day it will arrive. But I just remember that once I'd got the bill of lading, the thing that actually had told you what had been loaded on the ship, you just had to keep ringing up the company and saying, okay, where's the ship now? They go, and then mention all these different ports. Well, it's just left this port, and so when do we think it will arrive? And the really key issue was that it was going to arrive very close to Christmas, which means that actually where it was going, which was City University, would close, and then I'd have to find somewhere to store it over Christmas and the New Year until City opened. But also it meant the port was going to hit Christmas period, which would mean that they would charge me a huge amount, and I couldn't get anyone to move it because I was trying to arrange people to pick it up, and they had to pay to get customs to look at it. You can imagine. But anyway, it all happened fine. It arrived at City. It was dropped off at City 2 hours or 3 hours before the building closed for Christmas. So it was very, very, very tight. But you can't imagine the excitement. You cannot imagine the excitement I remember that most of the group turned up. A lot of us had big crowbars for opening the crates. We sort of carried the crates down ourselves. We opened the crates. We unpacked the gamelan. And it was probably one of the first Gong Kebyar, apart from Dartington, in the country. And it was just so exciting. You've no idea how exciting it was. And then I remember us playing it, and I remember the first and the second session that we had, as you can imagine, were just absolutely thrilling. Absolutely thrilling. Imade Gablaran.
Was it an old gamelan or new gamelan?
It was a new gamelan. New gamelan.
How can you keep the tuning?
I don't know. It's just kept. I don't think it's been tuned, actually. Or maybe it has been tuned, but no, I think it's a new gamelan.
Normally they have to tune.
Yeah. No, maybe the trompong's always been bizarre. The trompong is still bizarre, but yeah, no, it's weathered incredibly well. And actually, only one instrument was broken when it came over. One of the medium size, I think, is a chalong. I think it was one of the chalong, just basically one of the things that curve up had broken off, but that was mended and stuck back on. I think Robert's fixed it, actually. Robert, because he fixes everything. And yeah, so that was another defining moment. And then, of course, since then we've got a lot more Balinese gamelan, including the Samapagulingen, which is probably the most beautiful set of instruments I've ever heard. I just love it. I love that. I absolutely love that gamelan. Yeah.
Your story is so I forgot all of the questions now. Oh, I don't know what to ask now.